Let's look at Boolean variables, which have the value of true or false. A Boolean variable is a primitive data type, just like an int or a double. Unlike an int, which can store any whole number, approximately -2 billion to +2 billion, Boolean variables only have two possible values, true or false. It may seem like Boolean variables are not particularly useful now that we know how to use if statements and have other variable types like int. Boolean variables are indeed quite useful though. They are most commonly used to remember whether or not something happened that you might need to know later in your program. Boolean variables are often referred to as flags. Why use Boolean variables? We can use a Boolean to track a condition or a situation. Declaring and initializing. The proper syntax to declare any variable is the data type, the variable name set equal to some value. And that works for Booleans as well. Boolean is alive equals true. Naming convention. Boolean variables should be named like regular variables, descriptively with a lowercase first letter and camel case when needed. In addition, Boolean variables should generally be named like questions, and I would say like a true-false statement. Boolean has key equals true. Boolean good pressure equals true. Boolean near me equals false. Boolean is highlighted equals true. Boolean variables can be compared with other Boolean variables or values with comparison operators. So Boolean b equals true, and we're going to use an if to compare that. If b is not equal to false. The above makes total sense. A Boolean variable can only have values of either true or false. Comparing b in this way works. You cannot use relational operators on Booleans. For example, Boolean b is equal to true if b greater than 15. This if statement doesn't make sense. How can true or false be greater than a number or anything? Usage. Because we can use comparison operators with Booleans, we can use Boolean variables and test conditions to test whether or not a code block will run. Consider the following example. Boolean is alive is set equal to true. If is alive is true, then we're going to print you're alive. This will print you're alive because the statement is true. Remember, we use the two equal signs for comparison. If you use one equal sign inside of an if statement, you are reassigning the value and it won't work as intended. And you won't get a compile time error or a runtime error. This is what is known as a logic error. Make sure you're using the comparison operator with the two equal signs inside the test condition. Consider the following. Boolean has key equal to false. If has key is assigned equal to true, print next level. Well, this will print next level, despite the fact that clearly has key was initially assigned a value of false. This if statement would run. Why? The assignment operators, the single equals, was used instead of the equal, assigning the value of true to has key. This only happens with Booleans, so be careful. Because Booleans can only be true or false, they can also be used as test conditions in an if statement, as seen below. Boolean good pressure equals true. So if good pressure, then print foo. And this will print foo because good pressure evaluates to true. A convention I personally favor is to only use Boolean variables as test conditions for true values and use a comparison for false values. In this first example, since we're trying to test if good pressure is true, we just let the variable good pressure stand in as the test case. In this case, down below, in the second example, we're trying to see if good pressure is false in order to print something. And so we use a comparison operator equal and compare to false. Negation operator, or the not operator. The negation operator, which is the exclamation point, is used to not the following thing. Recall that not equal to or exclamation equals is a comparison operator, meaning not equals. When applied to a Boolean variable, it makes sense that it flips the value that it's applied to. Not true is false, and not false is true. Boolean A equals false. If we print not A, then it will print true. Boolean B equals true, but C is set equal to not B. So C is assigned a false, and if printed, it will print false. With the negation operator, the example from the previous slide can also be checked for the false like this. So Boolean good pressure equal to true. If not good pressure, then print foo. Whether you use not good pressure or the longer good pressure equal to false, it's up to you, but it's important to understand how both work. You could see it either way. Also, it may be easy to miss the single not operator in a lot of code. Finally, some more examples. Int a equals 4, Boolean b equals the test of is a equal to 3? Since a is not equal to 3, b is assigned false and will print false. Int apples equals 12, Boolean has dozen equals the test of apples greater than or equal to 12. And has dozen will of course print true. I hope you've learned how to use Boolean variables in your programs.